Welcome back to Meetings for Action. So when we meet, it has to mean for something. And we made a promise that the first 8 episodes will be concentrated on the financial sector of Ethiopia. On our last meeting, we took some assignments. I look forward to today disagreeing with you. I look forward to really like having some sort of debate with you. And hopefully, since I am not an expert and we certainly have so much more to uncover, maybe we could also discuss on who are the people that we need to bring on this platform to answer the questions that we don't have. Hopefully you did your homework.
Yes, I did.
Yes, you did your assignments.
Yes.
We are
Yes,
meetings for
indeed. Yes,
action.
indeed.
Maybe we can start with easily highlighting some of the things that we need to discuss today.
Exactly. The government of Ethiopia has been working on a concept of homegrown economy from 2018, since 2018. So under that, the government has made a lot of changes to so-called homegrown economy reform. There are four major things that happen. The first thing is the privatization of that's one. Second, the official launch of capital market, that is Ethiopian Securities Exchange. The third one is the national digital payment strategy or system has applied by the government, and the other one is fintech innovation has already expanded across the country since 2018, including the national ID program as well, by the way. And the last one is the artificial intelligence development. The government has already started Ethiopian Institute of Artificial Intelligence, which is very eye-opening for companies to adapt artificial intelligence into their system. So these are the basic reforms that happened.
It's a very, very important time to discuss all these issues. And I love how you started with homegrown economy. Much as possible as Ethiopia, we have to start thinking on how we could be self-sustaining. So homegrown economy, hopefully, that is what it means. If I am mistaken, I look forward for my fact checker over there to stop us at any moment if that isn't the case. But is that what we're really talking about? Is that what we're saying? Are we saying that okay, Ethiopia has to be self-reliant? We can no longer depend on development agencies, other countries to fully help us grow? Is that what we're saying? Let's start with that, and then we can start at least addressing some of these big reforms little by little.
Yeah, this is a very important question that you raised, by the way. As a matter of fact, it is very difficult to say a certain country is self-sufficient because you cannot be self-sufficient. You will have still relations, bilateral relations, economic bilateral relations with different countries. But this is just to say that at least we can have an economy that is seen in accordance with homegrown economy, which is in accordance with the activities of its own country. So that's what they say. Homegrown economic reform is a reform that is based on analyzing what is happening in the country, what can possibly come up with a strategy, a roadmap that can possibly change the financial inclusion and the financial ecosystem of a country based on a strategy that are designed by Ethiopians who have been working in the government as well in the financial sector and also seeking for some practical experiences from the global world as well. So that's what they do. So they did that, and the reform came up following the homegrown economic
Okay,
reform.
so like just for argument's sake, and maybe Barakat, you could also help us with this.
Exactly, yeah.
How much percent of our economy was uh, covered by aid, and how much percent of it was through our own GDP? That would be something important to know before we start talking about some of these big reforms. Don't you think so?
Yeah, that's very important. Honestly, it's difficult to say that our economy was covered by donations or like that.
Yeah,
And
okay.
frankly speaking, because Ethiopia is a country with great potential in economic perspective, a country whose majority percent of the economy is agriculture. Again, there is potential for manufacturing, service industry, tourism as well. But there are some sectors that still subsidized from donations. But I cannot going
I
to
mean,
say that this percent of like that
I'm gonna
fact checker
ask our
he can
IT
do that.
guru to actually
Yeah.
give us some of the facts, but this is what I know.
Okay.
Something that I'm very happy about. I've always thought, Ethiopia's, let's say, Ethiopia's budget is deficient because
Yes.
we import way more
Zan we
the
export.
yeah than we
Yeah.
export. And we also have had till recently we had so much foreign debts to last us generations. All of this always worried me, and recently I'm kind of finding out that we're not the only country like this. Actually, most countries, if not, are also operating in such a deficit.
And that would be a lame excuse for me
I
as a
know.
country.
So
Yeah.
what we have to say is at some point things have to change, and wonderful, today is the time where things are changing very, very fast. So as much as possible, some of these reforms should take us towards that direction one way or the other. So,
Exactly.
as much as possible, we should be able to depend or change the way things are done in the country so that we can go in that direction where we are more self sufficient and less dependent on foreign aid because we had been dependent for foreign aid for a long time. And current global trends show us that we can no longer trust that that will
Yes.
continue for long.
Exactly.
Like things have to
Exactly.
change
Exactly.
very fast.
Like we cannot we cannot build our economy on the basis of IMF or World Bank
We
loan or any
can't.
donations
We
because it
can't.
can that thing changes according to your performance in the country, your political positioning, whatever it is. So that's why we need to grow in every aspect of the
Yes.
economy.
Yes. So whether we like it or not, we need to do that. So
Exactly.
until we get our facts and
Okay.
then we'll get back to this, let's talk about let's give some sort of highlight of the five top big reforms that you talked about.
Exactly.
We talked about, for example, privatization. That's one of the big reforms that you want to talk about
Yes.
today. So, shoot,
Yes,
what's
so
your take on that?
the mice here is about privatization. So before 2018, the Ethiopian economy was a monopoly economy where government decides everything. So some giant public organizations were working alone. That's why they were like having even greater profits. Customer experience for the public was not that much good because there wasn't a competitor at all. So since 2018, the government has privatized some organizations. The first was Ethio Telecom. Ethio Telecom was privatized and they allowed for investors to come and operate here. Now we have two telecom operators, Safaricom Ethiopia and Ethio Telecom. So they are not competing, at least on speed and
No,
price.
so you mean, yeah, Ethio Telecom had a monopoly for a long time, and
400 years.
wonderful. So
400
for the
years
first time,
for the first time.
we've welcomed Safaricom
Safaricom Ethiopia.
to come in the country to operate, and I'm sure that has its own main issues, but at least some sectors are being opened up for international competition to come and operate here.
Exactly.
Wonderful.
So the next is even the banking industry. Even though we have never seen still now, no bank has already entered into the market, but we have seen that there is a permission that foreign bankers can come and operate in Ethiopia. They can buy 49 stake of existing banks and they can come and operate. They can open branches. So this is very great thing, by the way. At least we're gonna have the opportunities that the foreign bank can bring into the country. They come up with loan facility, foreign currency. Again, they come up with technologies that can really help us in the digitalization journey of our country as well. Because the existing banks are banks that are not digitalized. These are banks that's not working on customer experience that much. Of course, they are improving through time now because whether we like it or not, change is inevitable. By the way, with this advancement of technology, banks have no option unless they embrace technology. However, this privatization helps the banks to think that are they ready even to compete with foreign banks?
So you are talking about one of the big reforms, and we still have not even touched finance specifically yet, but one of the big reforms is maybe opening up the economy. And truth be told, I've always been that idiot nationalist that was saying, you know
Yeah.
what, why should we open it? I was always even though I don't have much knowledge about it, I was always skeptical about opening up, for example, the banking industry, uh, not for the benefits it could bring us, but more of I am very much, let's say, proud that it's Ethiopians that own Ethiopian banks. It's Ethiopia that owns the whole telecom industry.
Yeah,
It's I don't I like opening it up. I know it's no longer something that is debatable. We have to do it, and that's the direction that we are going. But I'm left to wonder if that is specifically something that will benefit us or not benefit Ethiopians. But this is from an idiotic nationalist point of view. As a country, we might need more finance. As a country, we might need more technology transfer. So, as much as possible, we live in a world now where we can no longer say, at least hopefully, that, like we should be wrapped up in our own
Yeah, the
borders.
point that we all have to understand that world is now interconnected. We are in a global world where technology has interconnected us and we have become a global village, isn't it? So as a customer, as a people, we want to make international transactions as well.
Yeah.
So one of the benefit of these banks, if they came to the local market, is that they will give you a number of options for the public to use. For example, now because we have a dominated local bank experience, we cannot make cross-border transactions
Yeah.
while we are interconnected with cross-border businesses, we're doing business across the country. Ethiopia has bilateral relations with different countries. So this is why we need to privatize our economy for the private sector. But the main thing is, as you said, people think like we should own our banks by ourselves. Even they talk about security issue. They can take our dollar, our thing. This is like we have seen different countries made this before. Nairobi, Kenya, they have foreign banks that are working in the country, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
So we have to take this experience. So we have to take that coming of foreign banks into the local market will have much more advantage than disadvantage. The only disadvantage that can affect the banks is that banks need to be ready to compete with these banks. So that's pretty obvious,
So
I think.
with privatization, I'm guessing that you're making or saying that opening up of the market, bringing international competition
It's a
to
sign of
come
development
and
for a country.
operating in the country. That is the direction that we are going in.
Exactly.
I think there's so much discussion to be had on whether they want to come or not. Is it profitable or not to come in this economy? And how are they going to come in? Because there has been many issues that we can even discuss a bit further. I know Safaricom is here to operate, and also it has many complaints as well.
Of course, yes.
So in terms like, is it really operating in a fair system? That is a discussion on its own that needs to be had.
Of course, you raise a good point, by the way. So, if we allow the foreign investors to operate in our country, we have to give them the platform to operate. That's simple. So we need to clarify the criteria and the platform that are going to come and play before they can, by the way.
Yeah.
So you cannot put any restriction or you cannot give them some weakness advantage that the homegrown company has to work this or not. That's
Yeah,
not that's
yeah.
not small. The point is you
That's what I'm
have to
trying to say.
know the entry modality first. How are they going to operate? How they are going to come to operate? So that's the main point. So that thing, I think it will be sorted out by the government potentially. Probably they will do it as soon as possible, in my opinion, because now we have seen that the advantage people have seen the advantage that two telecom operators are operating in the country. Customers are experiencing different packages. They're buying different packages from Safaricom even. So this one is very great for our public to use it without any problem.
From our conversation, these are some of the things that I'm saying. So, okay, definitely, what are the entry modalities that
That's
needs
very important. Very
they might
important.
need to understand it.
Yes.
When they come on the ground, what are the first steps that they need to do? What kind of system will there be? Will there be a fair enough transaction? That would be something that could be taken. Okay.
Just to add one
So
point,
yeah.
you know, like
So we're saying privatization as opening up the economy.
exactly. You know, I want to add this. You know, even if we allow the foreign banks to come and operate in the banking sector now, the National Bank of Ethiopia has to do the entry modality meticulously. That's very important. How
Do
they
you
are
think
going?
that as a person working in the banking sector, do you have information, or is there some
Of
we now
course,
do we have to go knock at the National
exactly.
Bank of
Yeah,
Ethiopia to ask them, do you have the necessary
yeah, of course.
modalities?
I told you, like these three banks, KCB Bank, Kenya Commercial Bank, Standard Bank, Equity Bank, they even come here in Ethiopia and they discuss with the National Bank governor.
Okay.
They have discussed for potential entry to come and buy some stake from the existing bank because the National Bank has made it clear that any foreign bank who comes to operate in our country has to have to the maximum 49% stake from the existing bank. So if
Okay.
they do that, they can open a subsidiary, a branch, and they can do that. So
Okay.
my point here is this is one thing, but the other also criteria, as I told you, the entry modality has to be stipulated clearly before they start
Who
operation in order
stipulates
to
it?
avoid the National Bank of
National
Ethiopia,
Bank.
simple as that.
Okay.
That's the duty of National Bank of
Do we
Ethiopia.
have the specific person that we can go knock on the door?
Exactly, we are going to knock out the door to the National Bank governor,
Oof, I
His
don't know.
Excellency. Can I say that? Can I say that?
Of course, I don't know.
His
We'll see.
Excellency
We'll see. We'll
Ayub
see.
Tekani, you know, come up here, tell
So,
us the criteria in a broader way.
so
Simple as that.
as a potential action point, let's
Exactly.
just say that maybe this is something that we
Yeah,
can
again,
discuss
with the Ethio
with
Telecom as well, possibly
with
it would be
Governor.
great to discuss with the CEO of Ethio Telecom as well. We
Perfect.
would be happy to understand that how are the competition going, you know, how are the, we want to know this, the privilege, the special offer that they can provide to the people at this now.
You mean, are they competitive? Because as Ethio Telecom, they have the infrastructure in the country. They have also backing from the government. So, truth be told, in terms of privatization, how do you
But
see
no,
that?
I can tell you this: Safaricom is a giant company. If you give him the platform, if you give them the platform, as you stated before, if we give them the fair competition area where it was supposed to be stipulated at the entry level, actually, if you give them, they have everything. They can.
Yeah, but like as much as possible, we also want. So when we want is when we say that we're going to we want to also talk to Ethio Telecom as a
Exactly.
potentials.
We would
Second, we're
love to
not
have.
committing to
Yeah,
this,
yeah.
but like are we saying that Ethio Telecom how ready is it to potentially compete in an open market? Is that our main
Not only that
question?
one, how Ethio Telecom is also ready to open its operation in neighboring countries as well. Why not?
Readiness to
Well, like,
compete locally and
look, yeah,
internationally.
look. By the way, when we're talking about privatization, the opening up of the banks or whatever for foreign investors, we have to think also that our banks has to operate to another countries as well. We have to understand that the opening up of the Ethiopian economy for foreign investors. So we have seen that Safaricom has come and played its part in the telecom sector. So we can understand that way.
Yes, yes. So perfect. So
Yeah.
we will see if this is actually going to be the routes that we will take in terms of real transformation of the country or not. So this definitely deserves a full blown
Perfect.
conversation. Okay, next up, in terms of big reforms, we talked about capital market. Is
That's
this
important.
the change that Ethiopia has always needed?
Exactly. So let me explain it in a simple word, by the way.
Okay.
So the first thing is, what is capital market? Because I see a lot of people confused with what is capital market, what is stock market. I think there are two different things. Stock market is a subset of capital market, but the broad concept is capital market. So let's say, like, if you want to buy something which is very important for you, you have a market to go and buy. For example, let's take Mercato, one of the biggest market area in Africa, right? So, for example, if you want to buy vegetable or whatever it's clothes or whatever it is, so you have a place to go and buy. For example, if I want vegetable, if I want to buy vegetable, I have place that I can go and buy. I can go to the farmers.
Yeah, yeah.
I can go to Mercato and buy
Yes,
that.
yes,
If I
yes.
want to buy clothes, I can go to the mall or any clothes shop and I can. So
Yes.
now if any person like me, any average Ethiopian people or any company, even government, if they need to have finance, where does they go in the market?
Yes.
That's called capital market
Yes.
or money market, by the
Yes.
way. So that we need to know the definition first. So if we agree on that, what does capital market give us? So capital market will give us a money or finance that we want. We really want to have it, really. So if you have an idea, for example, you can go with your idea, with your proposal, go to there, provide that, and you can sell it. And again, if you want to expand a business, come up with a share that's called IPO, initial public offering, and then you sell your share, and then you expand the business. So we have to understand that this capital market is a money market where we have to go and get money.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Fingers
Exactly.
crossed.
So based on this, you can
So
develop your
definitely,
course on
so
that.
we don't have to go through the proclamation and so on, but just for historical perspective, I remember the moment I graduated from college. I remember we opened the national, television, and from eight, no, actually from the moment you open it to the evening, the only kind of commercial you used to see is initial of primary
Okay.
primary market. So every company was selling shares. Everybody was buying shares for new organizations. And I remember my aunt, for example, who didn't used to make lots of money then. I remember once her telling me, you know what, I'm going to put some money into, I think, a cement
Factory.
factory or something, and everybody wanted to sell shares. This is about roughly about 15, 16 years ago. And then suddenly we also saw that all these money that was being invested by all these people did not become necessarily fruitful, and some of the organizations, they never came to life. We didn't have enough regulation to make sure that the money that the public was investing was actually going to be used for the investment needed. And suddenly, I think it was from one day to the next, Ethiopians that were very, very much excited to be part of the development, to be part of owning big companies, organizations that were able to get this cash that they desperately needed to open their industries. The optimism died from one day to the next, and then for almost a decade, capital market was just like a conversation.
You know,
Now I'm gonna come to
yeah,
my
you
question to
raised
you.
a good point.
I'm
That's
gonna
why,
come to my
man.
question to you.
Yeah.
So after a decade plus later, now we are definitely very much optimist. We are putting in the institutions. We're putting the legal framework. Everybody cannot do whatever they want. There are specific rules and regulations that protect. Hopefully, the consumer. There are specific things that organizations need to follow. So the government has definitely put in the regulation in place. Now comes, are we going to transform our country, or are we going to transform our personal lives to by joining this market that you said? Just like I'm going to buy my jacket, am I going to start? Am I? Will I be able to invest some of the money I have in this market so that it earns me profit?
Yeah, exactly. You raised a good point, by the way. What you raised is something very fascinating. So, there was stock market informally before. So banks even they sell shares, but they sell for their relatives, their friends, or whatever. Nobody's going to go and buy unless you have an insider information. So that's what happened to the extent that you mentioned it. But to say that this market can completely transform the lives of individuals, companies, even government, as we discussed it before, the ICMA, that's the regulator of this market, has to do a lot of jobs. They're doing amazing jobs so far, but they have to do a lot of jobs to make it what we wanted to see in the market. Because unless we see a huge number of transactions trading in the stock market, unless we build the trust in the people that they can come and put their savings into the stock market like they did in the bank, we are not going to see that change. So what the ICMA has to do is that they have to regulate. Companies has to register in that. Any company who has the idea to sell their shares has to be registered in that market, and then they have to come up with their IPO, and then public has equal opportunity to go and buy according to the money that he has.
Yeah.
So that should be like that. But unless we build the trust in the people that this stock market works for everyone, companies is going to be listed according to the criteria. Again, anyone from any corner of the country has the right to come and buy with the money they has. It has to be like that. So, what things need to be done now? The first thing is financial literacy. So ICMA, the regulator, has to create financial literacy about capital market, how it works, what are the criteria, how people can go and play in the market. They have to create that. So people need to trust that I can go and buy any share from any company, so that like a bank, they can trust and they put their money and they get it whenever they want. So in that share as well, they can go and buy any share from any company and they can sell it back even whenever they want. That's why we need also investment banking in the capital market. They are the actors, because now we got investment banking as well following the launch of securities exchange market. Because they are an engine, by the way. Investment banks are an engine for the perfect implementation of capital market, because these are banks that help companies in advising growth. These are banks that help companies make the market, connecting the buyer and the seller in the capital market. These are companies which help to raise fund, to raise capital. So these are bankers who do the research, all the research and the brokerage service at all. So the ICMA has to do these things. The trust has to become, unless it will be symbolical.
Okay, so from what you're telling me, so as something that we can potentially dig into or potentially knock the door off would be ICMA, and to understand what their strategy is in terms of building the trusts of, let's say, the people or investors on capital markets. Because when we create that, at least I know that already lots of job is being done. So potentially understanding what they do or not. So potentially one fact that we could add on this is how much money was currently raised. I know in billions money was raised through the Ethiopian Security Exchange for in the last couple of years, but in terms of building trust of the people, in terms of creating the capital market that we want, how are they doing? What is the strategy to build trust? Is something that we could potentially
Exactly.
create a good
Yeah,
discussion
I
on.
have been seeing this news from even their page that some companies has already listed. So we can say even they have given license for investment bankers just to facilitate
Yes,
the
yes.
perfect implementation of this securities exchange market. CB Capital has already started
Yeah,
working,
yeah,
working
yeah,
Capital as well,
yeah.
and some other
Yeah,
private
but
banks are
yes,
getting license
yes,
like Sinke, Awash, like that.
yes.
So again, another 70 companies I think are on the pipeline to be registered. That's good. But
Okay.
now, what the ICMA has to do that I told you before, the awareness creation that an average Ethiopian has to have the trust to come and put their savings into the stock market. That's very important.
Okay.
That's how we transform the country. That's how we transform the capital market. Because I told you before, in the capital market, everybody should be beneficial, whether it is individual, company, or government. Even government, they can come and sell bonds,
So
currencies
perfect.
like that. You can sell anything. So this thing has to be maintained.
So understanding how
Exactly.
we're going to start building the trust would be something that we can potentially create a good conversation on.
Exactly, but for there we can knock into ICMA authorities and then we can bring a guest here, come up with some scientific or numerical data, and they can explain it
They
more
can
clearly.
explain, they can
Yeah,
explain the strategy.
exactly.
They can see if really, if I like in previous times, the only way you could have capital was if you had a loan from the banks, if you
Exactly.
had some assets, and if this could be an answer for our different industries, how will it be an industry, and what is the strategy to make local and international investors invest in different industries in the country is definitely a conversation to be had. I know they're doing many things, but we need to know what their end goal is. Wonderful. Let's talk about, let's say, the third major reform we talked about, which is digitalization. I'm going to make a confession. I haven't had cash in my pocket for the last almost a year now. So definitely that was one of the big changes in the country in
Yeah,
the last
so
decade or so.
this is important. So one thing we have to understand that with the advancement of technology, with the advancement of digital automation tools, even AI recently, so whether we like it or not, the economy is going to be digitalized. It's inevitable. The situation, even the advancements in technology in different countries, they can push you somehow, I think. So the one fantastic reform that has been done since 2018 is digitalization. So the government allowing the banks to perform transactions from bank to bank, the coming of the national ID to make uniformity in the financial sector, which is very important to prevent fraud. Again, it's very important again for banks or for any company to know their customer for KYC purpose, because you have to know for whom you are giving the service. The person who's going to take the service has to be legal, legitimate, you know. So that's why this reform is one of the best. Again, here we can also think in this national digital payment strategy, the fintech revolution, where financial technology companies they get a license and they're acting and facilitating payments between merchants, between banks and merchants, between wallets from bank to bank. Even international transactions are now performed through some fintech companies like Chapa, Kachas, and Tipi. These are served as a gateway. This is very, very big revolution, by the way. So now we have changed from cash heavy economy into digital first economy, which is very important that we should cherish it, by the way. So, as I told you, digitalization is a journey. I'm not saying that it's enough, but at least we have seen some changes that people are now transacting digitally through their mobile banking. People are now using fintechs like Telebr. You can see the feature that Telebr brought it. Even the reconciliation is very fast within 24 hours. You can see that Telebr is one of the fintech, by the way. You can
Yeah.
consider it as a fintech. So here, these fintech companies has helped the government in transforming its economy into digital first economy.
So I don't know how much money do we save? Is it because transactions are faster? Is it because they're more reliable? Is it safe even to I know that there was some problems that have occurred in the country in terms of security, but I guess my main question first comes: how much of the population will be able to convert it first, second, and third. I'm guessing when you come to rural country to the capital or to urban areas, those are potential, you know, mismatches. So as we said, capital markets, we need to make sure that we need to build trust so that people start investing in the capital markets. We also need to see how fast we can also transition the people of Ethiopia in terms of totally going digital. I know that definitely, I personally, I know that I use only digital cash. But like, so what does it mean? Does it mean
Yeah,
that we're
so
saving money for us?
yeah, so you raised a good point, by the way. So as we have been saying in the capital market, also even in other position as well. So financial literacy is very important. So the same token companies, including the government, has to create the platform where digital literacy has to be performed. So people has to know how to use the digital platforms, how to make transactions through the mobile banking. So, but here it comes where financial inclusion is rich. So when we talk about digitalization, when we talk about digitalizing the economy, you have to make sure that people in rural areas are not left behind. So we have to teach, we have to create the digital literacy, how to use this mobile bank. For example, if we become in banking industry, for those people that you mentioned in remote areas, of course, majority of our people are in remote area. So we have to make sure that they are not left behind. So banks come up with a strategy called USSD code or short code they can perform even with very uh, non-smartphones they can perform transactions, you know. So that's one thing to at least include these urban areas into the system, but this is not enough, you know. We have to work on creating digital literacy among other people. They have to come up with short courses as well. We have to equip all the necessary
So
public.
who's doing financial literacy? Like, whose job is it to?
It's the job of every stakeholder. That means the government and the company. Government has to lay the platform. They have to do the infrastructure,
Yeah.
and the companies whenever they come up with
Companies, are we talking about banks?
yeah, banks or even fintech companies also
Okay.
they have to make financial literacy, digital literacy, because they come up with a payment gateway. So if they don't know how to use it, so they have to make awareness question. For example, let's say these fintech companies, at least fintech companies are companies they serve as a partnership with merchants, so companies have a partnership with them, so the companies at least they have a proper organization so they can learn that. But for individuals, especially if we take banks, bank by itself, whenever they come up with a new digital solution, they have to make that they create awareness to the customer, to the public.
So another thing that you've mentioned is the digital ID in terms of
Exactly.
digitalization.
Yes.
The fact that we have a digital ID now that is linked to all bank accounts will start generating lots and lots of data on how finance is being transacted in the country. That could be used for many positive things in the country. Earlier on, you were telling me about if we have that data, we could potentially use it for many applications, including getting specific services from the banks
Exactly.
and so on. And I know that there is so much questions related to this. Whether, at least from consumer side, when there's a big change, you're just scared about it.
Yes.
And from historical perspective, when all your information is easily accessible, even by the government, it's not like it's a new thing, so it's not an easy pill to swallow. So in terms of creating information, in terms of creating awareness, there's lots of job to be done. So in terms of changing how the finance in the country works, and in terms of how the digital ID will transform, uh, will change how things are done in the country, that also deserves an in-depth discussion on
Yeah,
that.
you raised a good point. So, you know, before some years, including now, by the way, one of the major bottleneck in the financial sector is KYC, know your customer. So let's take banks for example. So in banks, a customer open a bank account without fulfilling information, without ID, without proper information. That is absolutely tough, by the way, in the financial sector,
Okay.
which is very difficult for the financial sector to be safe, where fraud, embezzlement, whatever it happens because of this information, lack of information. So national ID is very important for such types of things. Once you have that, once this national ID is integrated with banks or whatever it is, it will be very important for any company to know that they are giving their service to a legitimate person. So with this AI also, we're talking about AI. AI works around data, by the way. Unless you have data, you are not going to do anything. So we need to have customers' information. Companies need to have customers' information. This is nothing but to know that they are giving the right service for the right people. But in regards to security and privacy, you have raised that this one is company's responsibility. So every company has a data privacy policy, so they have to be accountable and transparent to their data policy. So and customers has to feel free that they have to teach them, they have to create the awareness that about the data privacy policy where their data are safe, they can only use it. So these are things that needs to be done by the company as well as the government also to think about security and data privacy as well. So these are something that the government has to do. But all in all, the national
So,
ID has very crucial preference for
like,
digitalization.
I start wondering how other countries have had in terms of similar experience. Look forward for a fact checker to tell me, for example, how India has managed to make this change, and it would also be interesting to find out on how lives will be changed after this. So from on the one hand, the service providers such as banks, it will be much easier for them to identify who their customer is and what is their contribution. On the other hand, from the customer side, it will also be interesting to know what are your liabilities and as much as your strength, because the system has and there's so much light to be in. I wonder on how other countries are doing it and how many countries in Africa, for example, have such system. If we are the first, or I don't know. That is something maybe that we can add.
Every African country, some of Africans, they have a nationality. Even Uganda, even Kenya, they have that.
Yeah,
They
so
have
it
that.
would be
So
interesting to
it will
find
be
out
interesting, yeah,
what
because
their
like I tried about this KYC thing. How companies international comes up. For example, like if you are, for example, a coder if you wanna open Google Play Console account or an Apple account, they will ask you this question strictly. You cannot just go and open without fulfilling these documents, because these documents are very important, because they want to know for whom they are delivering that service. But in Ethiopia, so far, you can go to any bank and you can open without unfulfilled document, which is very tough. That's why now we have accounts in the bank, in every bank, by the way, which documents are not fulfilled, still pending for national bank decision.
I
So
know
now
for a long
with
time
this digitalization,
in many banks that you go,
yeah,
like one thing that you're asked is to open an account, and you never even see it.
even they will tell you before. I was proud of it since I'm in the banking sector, in the financial sector as well. So you just sign on the form.
And
You will
then
send me the document letter. Before you send the document, you will have the account, the text.
exactly.
You see.
So all that is going
Yeah,
to be
we talk
changed. That's
about
definitely a
the
big
immediate
reform.
effect, but in the long run, this has a very huge consequence on the
So in
financial
terms
sector.
of digitalization of the finance sector, one we need to understand on how companies or banks are going to, or it would be interesting to have conversations with these suppliers on how they want to conduct financial literacy to their customers, on how what they will be able to change because of digitalization, how at least business or finance will be changed because of this. It would be also interesting to see how the national ID will bring solutions. What are
Exactly.
the different problems?
So
It would
we
be
we also demand the director of national ID. We can bring him here. This is meeting is for action, right? So we're gonna call
potentially.
for action. He can come here, put his strategy, put his thing, and then he
Yeah.
can drive
So
people.
yeah, like well, we could do that. We
Yeah.
definitely that's one of the action points
The
I'm
same thing
taking.
bank presidents as well. If they're thinking about providing sound decision for their customers, if they are thinking about having a great KYC, which can help their banks to be financially stable, fraud-free, knowing their customer very well. As I said before, to deliver even hyper-personalized products and services, to recommend, to provide lead generation, they need to know their customers very well. So
Okay.
we would also love to have
So supplier
presidents
side,
of giant bankers here in Ethiopia.
we've got lots of
Yeah,
questions for them. We've
yeah,
got
exactly.
questions for the national ID directors to see how transformation will be done. You've mentioned briefly, so these are the last points that we're going to mention for today. What are fintech innovations that we need
Yeah,
to discuss?
the surprising part is like I'm thinking about banks and fintech in comparison, because in the future, you know, I reached in a point where can fintech replace banks? You could think about it, by the way, because fintech companies are giving what the bank failed to do. Look, look, now the banks are like giving services through physical branches, again somehow mobile banking Ethiopia, and again some digital platforms. Look, fintech companies are now giving us a payment solution, a better payment solution. Take Telegram. Telegram is now the most reliable app in Ethiopia, by the way. You can say arguably you can
I
say that.
use it
Yeah,
often.
use it
I use it
arguably you
very
can say that.
often.
Why
Yes.
it is reliable? Because the settlement, the reliability, you transfer transaction is going to happen now. Even though you got an error, it's going to be settled within 24 hours.
Most importantly, even if you
Exactly.
don't have data on your phone, it works.
Exactly. When it
I don't know
comes
how it
to
works,
when
but
it
it
comes to
works.
the banks has to work on their mobile application, on their payment strategy. They have to come up with an application which is very fast, secure, you know. So
Yeah.
so these fintechs are replacing them. So, but you can say that fintechs are now a payment gateway to perform local transactions from bank to bank, even foreign transactions. For example, Chapa, you can do that. You can integrate. If you bring up an application who can serve for foreign community, you can integrate it, and from abroad you can receive a
But
transaction on that. So
banks
this,
don't just do transactions.
yeah,
But banks also do other stuff. Uh, I mean, as much as you can sometimes take loans from Tele, but it's not Tele giving it to you. It's another bank giving it to you.
yeah, with through partnership.
Exactly. So
Exactly. Yeah.
can fintech one day replace banks? Is that a
That's
conversation we can
exactly
have?
that's what I'm
So are we
saying.
saying that we're going to start depositing money
Exactly, that's
directly?
what I'm saying. It depends on now the national bank licensing, and our national bank ready to allow them to perform like that. If they give them, I'm 100% sure that fintechs can't possibly replace banks if they go like this. But For us in our economy, fintechs are starting, they are showing a good progress. We love that, and I think they have played their own role in digitalizing the economy, in facilitating payments. That's very fascinating, in my opinion.
So maybe that's a question we could potentially ask
That's a
the
question
National
we could
Bank if
possibly
if
ask.
if we go to the
Exactly,
National Bank, we definitely
exactly.
have to ask.
Yes,
However, if we also get the opportunity to speak to some of these fintechs and what
yes,
is their long-term vision and what are
exactly.
their hurdles, this could
We
also
can take
show
some
us
of these fintech companies' CEO or president, bring them here,
we and
and
see
we
if
make
their vision is to actually
exactly
become banks on their
actionable
own.
dialogue.
That's
Exactly.
wonderful. Last but not least, AI involvement in the finance system.
By the way, let me ask you this:
Yeah,
what is the best tech solution you have ever seen in 21st century?
best tech solution in 21st century. That's a long time.
21st century.
21st century. Yes, of course. I love my chat GPT. You're right.
So that's it.
Of course.
So here we go.
Of
So
course.
you know, AI is not a science fiction anymore. AI is
Yeah,
changing
yeah,
companies for the better.
yeah.
So anyone, whether it is individual, company, or government, now has to think that how I'm going to use AI for productivity, customer experience, fraud detection, credit scoring, decision making, you name it. So AI is a versatile tool that can apply in every aspect of the operation, even for individuals, in
So,
your
like,
day-to-day life.
from your knowledge, is there any specific applicability of AI in the world right now in the finance sector?
Of course,
Where?
that's good. KYC, customer onboarding, a loan, as I told you before, chatbot for customer experience, fraud detection.
I don't want to call customer
So,
service, and I don't want to talk to a robot.
this is this.
I don't. I want to talk to a human being. I want them to say, I want to hear in their voice my
I'm definitely
frustration.
sure the moment you faced an accident with transaction like that, this will not be your say. What you want by that moment is just you wanna you wanna settle your incident. You wanna get your money
No,
back.
I
Yeah,
need I need an entity on the other side that understands my frustration.
it understands your frustration.
AI cannot understand frustration.
It can understand frustrations. By the way, let me tell
It
you.
doesn't
Let me
understand. It
let
doesn't
me
have
tell
any
you.
feelings.
Let me tell you. Yeah, AI hasn't, but you train it based on your training
I
of how you are prompting. It can understand. By the way,
okay, please. Can AI understand emotions? That is definitely something.
imagine fact checker. You might get the answer no, but I'm telling you, the algorithm. Because you trained the chatbot. So do you know that chatbot
No,
do
no, it
sentiment
can
analysis? Do
automate.
you know that chatbot do sentiment analysis? Yeah,
Okay,
chat to sentiment
I did
analysis.
not.
It can classify whether it is positive vibe, negative, or not. Based on your prompt, how you write your case, your incident like that, AI can understand. I know you are frustrated. It can tell you, by the way. So the point is not here
So no, no.
actually.
In terms
So the
of
point
financial,
is
yeah, financial transformation, how the finance sector will work with the latest and biggest innovation, I guess, in the 21st century, artificial intelligence. How will that change the sector, specifically in Ethiopia, as a
this
person working
this
in the sector?
this is very fantastic. So the first thing that companies especially need to do is that they need to have AI culture in the company. They need to make the awareness about AI. How can they integrate their AI into their working system? They need to embrace technologies. They should partnership with vendors that work on AI, which can possibly help them to integrate that AI into their system. At the same time, they have to develop talent as well. They need to have a team, a team of technical professionals or business professionals that are working on AI projects, which can easily transform their current traditional business flow into AI-powered service
So
delivery system.
which door can we knock on to give us more insight and how AI can transform the sector?
This is very important question. Yeah, AI is new, especially for Africa, especially for Ethiopia. Like we have seen, I think the government is trying to go one step ahead,
We
and
have an
they will
AI
try.
institute,
Even I
yes.
recently I have heard that even the prime minister was saying we're gonna start AI university. He was
Yes.
saying that, and they have been also inaugurating Ethiopian Institute of AI.
Okay.
We can have Solomon Kasa
We're,
because
we're giving a shout out on the
we shout
spot.
out Solomon Kasa. If you see these meetings for Action Podcast, please come up here. We're gonna challenge you some questions. We're gonna teach the people.
He's gonna educate us
He's
more.
gonna
I'm
educate
very
us,
skeptical on
of
this.
course, I know
Very
that.
skeptical
I
on
know that.
this.
However, I think he has written even a book recently. I have seen it on LinkedIn. He was saying artificial intelligence book. That's very great. So you can come and discuss more about how can we leverage AI individually for the companies and for the country as well. But
For
just
the
know
finance
that
sector
for the
specifically.
finance sector, but just know that AI is in all sector. It's
Of
a
course,
versatile.
AI is a
Whether it
very
is
sector.
health, manufacturing, whatever you call it, AI can be applicable. So one thing is companies or government has to invest on technology.
So definitely, I see this as an episode that is an outlier of the season. Basically, after we've discussed about all other issues, we can potentially discuss AI as an enabler
Yeah,
to go to the next step.
exactly.
Maybe taking into account on everything, unless you have specific organizations that are currently looking into AI to transform the services that they provide in terms of financial offerings.
Yeah, we cannot mention any specific company because companies are now trying to figuring out how can they leverage AI into their
So,
program and operation. So we can discuss on it further, but I think shout out for Solomon Kasa, maybe he can come
in that case,
in. Yeah.
overall, this is what we have
Just
discussed so
last
far
but not
today.
least, I want to add about exchange rate and forex stability. I think this is
Okay.
one of the reform, one of the macroeconomic reform that I think I can say the misconception here is like, do you think government devalued money and make the people poor? Do you believe that? A lot
Not
of people say that.
That's a very loaded question. I don't. I think we had to devalue the money because of let's call it international pressure, and as much as also to make sure that our value in terms of the things that we export gets more acceptance internationally.
Exactly, but
So
I do believe that there is misconception. People think that government devalued the money and make the people poor. But the fact is, our currency, our birr was weak even before.
yeah,
It was weak. Like people go to the black market in order to import goods from abroad. They pay in the black market price. But this reform has done one thing. This reform has admitted the truth that our currency is very weak. So government is trying to pull out money from the shadow economy. So one thing is I want to say here. So these foreign exchange rate and forex stability has to be executed in a good way, where we are facing, especially people who are like living with social salary or fixed earners. They're feeling the heat, by the way, because we're seeing the cost of living is high. The imported goods and service price of these goods are very high, and at the same time there are also the beneficiary, farmers, exporters, coffee exporters, gold miners. Now they are selling the product at a global rate, isn't it? They are getting benefit from this
so
rate.
okay, so that
So the effect is into favorable effect and unfavorable effect. Favorable effect for these people, for farmers, coffee, gold. For those people, they are selling the product at international market with this price, with the new exchange rate, isn't it?
so what we're saying is from I'm going to use your term,
Sure.
we have started seeing the truth for what it is. Before the devaluation, we had two exchange rates, the black markets and the real markets. Now they're almost equal all the time, and I don't even know if the other one still exists, but it's going to be even more going out of the market soon, hopefully. And this has is giving real data for the country's economy to grow. So was this successful, and when are we going to start seeing its real positive impact on the people? That is something that we can potentially have
Yeah.
an in-depth conversation about. And last but not least, like we also need to think about who would be best able to give us clear insight on whether what to follow in terms of trends.
Yeah, but before I mention the person who's responsible to give us clear clarifications, I want to say this. So,
You want to give
this,
another shout out?
yeah, this exchange rate, like, look, before the devaluation, the question was, where can I get the dollar? That was the question. Even though you have the cash in your pocket in your account, you cannot go and buy the dollar that you want.
Can I now?
Now you can. Yeah.
Any,
So
any
the
amount of
question,
dollar that I want,
yeah,
I can go to a
look,
bank. How? Where do I get that?
look, the question is now, it's not about the question of permission, but the question of price. Now the dollar is there, but it's expensive, isn't it?
So now you're telling me, for example, if I wanted to pay for something,
Now, if you want to buy $10,000, for example, if you wanted, you can go and buy. So we have legally permitted forex bureaus in Ethiopia.
so I can buy $10,000
Exactly, you
today.
can go and buy $10,000. If the main thing is, do you have the price to pay? Because the rate is high. Yeah.
Yes, it
So
doesn't
now,
matter. So if I
so
want to
this
buy dollar, I
change,
can go to the
yeah,
bank
this
and buy
change.
it.
Now this change has brought two things: from the question of permission into the question of price. Before, even though you have the cash, you don't have the ability or the permission to go and get the price, the dollar, because the dollar was in the bank, in the bank, as well as on the black market.
Yeah.
But now, if not, you are not going to get in the bank with that listed rate. But beyond that, you can go to outside.
That's a
There
big
is legally
transformation
permitted forex offices.
because
I think 13 legal forex bureaus that they can sell dollar whatever you want.
so
I
today,
think 5 of them has
so
already.
today you're telling me that any person that wants foreign currency can get it from these 13
Exactly. Let's say today
marketplaces.
you have a flight, you need $10,000 to go. You don't have any, you can go and buy $10,000 and go. This is one of
That's
the best questions. So,
you
here
mentioned
is the point.
somebody.
So we have shifted through this exchange rate from government decree in exchange rate, which was decided by the national bank. Now the interest rate is decided by the demand and supply.
So the real impact of this,
The real impact of this is on people who are fixed income. They're feeling the heat because it brings import inflation, because the products that we are importing from abroad
but like,
has increased cost of living.
forgive me if I'm mistaken, but
Please.
if a person imports buying dollars from the black markets, at the end of the day, he or she's going to put the price on the final consumer. So the price on the final consumer existed even before the the
Development.
yeah the
Now, the
floating of
problem
the.
was, look, before, for example, if you are an importer and if you want to open LC, letter of credit, in
You
a
have to wait
bank,
for a
and
long
bank,
time,
yeah, you
but
have to
if you
wait
can't
for a lot
find
of
it,
time.
you're gonna
One
find
to three,
another way.
exactly.
You're gonna find another way to get the
Exactly. But
dollars.
now you are not going to wait. If you have the cash, you can go and buy it.
So, but what I'm trying to say is the final consumer at the end always pays the full price.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So now that's what I want to make a final statement. So we need to understand the notion that execution over inspiration. Now we have to execute these reforms accordingly in a meticulously manner. So the National Bank of Ethiopia has to act here and then have to execute properly, come up with a monitor, controlling mechanism that every reforms are executed in a way that the reforms was intended to be. So
So,
this is very important.
so
That's why,
who are
for
you,
example, the National
who are you
Bank is
going to
now.
shout out to? A
Yeah,
person?
before I shout out, the National Bank has realized a loss, isn't it? You have seen it, 445 billion. Why? This is not from a single loan, actually. This is a loan that was taken before and after, but it was taken at 57 interest rate before, because the artificial rate, the old one. But now, because of the flotation, it has gone to 100 and like that. So this is the difference. Now the government has to manage this. How can he's going to manage the government? So
Okay.
I do believe that the government can manage this. The first one is they can issue a bond, government bond, to replace the paper. They can do gold mining. They can buy gold.
Who is the expert that's gonna give us the real
The National
answers?
Bank of Ethiopia as
Again.
well. Again, we're gonna.
So that I mean,
So His Excellency, Mr. Ethiopia
so
Kali, if you are
a
seeing this for
conversation
Action
with the
Podcast,
National Bank of
come
Ethiopia
up, show
is
up. We're
definitely
gonna discuss
one of the
for the
major,
better of the country.
one of the first things that we need, and we're gonna talk about many things
Exactly.
with the National Bank of Ethiopia. Wonderful. So, in terms of specific action points that we've raised, I guess we can put them on a link.
Top tier finance
Yes, we
that
talked
we
about
develop
definitely a meeting with the National Bank of Ethiopia to discuss some of these big reforms.
should be the first thing.
How are we able? Yeah, how are we going to manage transition? What's the roadmap? We could talk about many things with the National Bank of Ethiopia, if that's the possibility. We talked about discussing with different institutions on their readiness to compete nationally and internationally. Um, we wanted to talk about with authorities strategies for implementation and
Yeah.
what are their hopes. We want to see how some big transformations, such as the national AD, will transform demand and supply in the finance sector. We want to know how the companies themselves are ready, getting ready to change their offerings in light of some of the technologies and innovations that are here. A good podcast that I look forward to do is, can fintechs replace banks in the future? That would be a really fun topic
Exactly.
to be had. So I guess in terms of prioritization, we definitely have to knock on regulators or uh, high level finance professionals in the country to answer some of these questions that we have. I look forward to understanding
Shout out to the person. Shout out to the person, bro.
directly.
Shout out to the person directly in the
We want
comment.
the governor
Yes.
on this
Please, if
podcast
you
as
see
soon
it,
as
if
possible.
you are seeing it, please do that.
We definitely want we want to be able to interview the governor to understand some of these big reforms. We want to hear also about our audience, which of these big actions you want us to prioritize on. I know that we're going to put our efforts into to inviting some of these
Yes.
people on this platform to discuss these questions so that we bring a light. If we have missed any kind of big reforms that you believe that should have been mentioned, please comment it down below. We will definitely take into account. If we have to, if you believe that there are specific doors that we have to knock into others than those that we have mentioned, please make sure to put them down below on the comment section as well. We are going to follow up. As we said in the first episode, you can hold us accountable for making sure that we actually do what we set out to do. What did we
Yes.
leave out?
Exactly.
So much things to
So
do.
much things
If we
to do.
want to understand the finance sector in just 8 episodes, there are so many action points that we have put in.
Just let them know that we're committed. We are here to make an impact. That's why
Yes,
we came
yes.
up with meetings for action. So as you said, if you have any comment, any suggestion about the financial sector, whom to interview, what contents to be included, in case we missed out,
Yes, we
so
missed. We might.
you can include it in the comment
Please include it.
section. Write us, contact us. We're gonna include it.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
so much. We
Uh,
appreciate it.
Wonderful meeting.